Hey guys, so Adam finished day 2 at YCS Minneapolis with Salamangreat. So yes, the deck is competitively viable and a very strong rogue strategy. Now ideally, we wanted to do a call and do this deck profile together, but unfortunately, Adam was just too busy with work, understandably so, and we couldn't find a time to work it out. But instead, he suggested that I ask him questions and he would just provide written responses that I can pass on his behalf. And so I do apologize in advance. You're going to have to deal with me talking the whole time today, but I can assure you I'll be just passing on his thoughts on the deck and not mine since I'm not an expert in this deck. And so I guess maybe to speak about the overall performance. So Adam finished 6-2-1 on day 1. And now he played against 3 Tier Elements, 3 Runic Sprite, 1 Pure Sprite, as well as Sky Striker and Hero. And so his only 2 losses on day 1. So it was against Tier Elements and Pure Sprite. And both of those players happened to make top 32. So obviously very, very tough matchups. And certainly he did really well. And unfortunately, he got knocked out on day 2 by Flunder because I would assume Dimension Shifter is pretty detrimental to the Salamangreat strategy. So I guess I can just go over the deck list quickly. And then I'll just go over the questions that I asked him specifically about his card choices. And then we can go from there. So this will probably be a pretty short profile, but hopefully you still enjoy it. So as for the list, it's some hand traps, 2 Ash, 2 Crow, 2 Veiler. We have the 3 Flame Buffalo and the 1 Ghost Spell, 2 Ghost Ogres, the 3 Cashier Fenrir, the new addition from Darkwing Blast, as well as the 2 Lady Debugs. And then we have 2 Nibs, 3 Parallax Seed for your rank 4 turbo plays. Some salad monsters now. We have the Falco at 1, 1 Fowl, 2 Foxy, 1 Gazelle, 2 Jack Jaguar, 1 Mirror, and this is an interesting one, and I'll talk about this in a sec, and 2 Spinny. And then as for the spells, we have the Call By and 2 Crossouts, the 3 Silent Minings, 2 Desires, the 3 Circle, the 1 Field Spell, and 2 Wills, as well as a bit more hand drops in the Double Imperm, the 2 Rage, and the Roar for the main deck. Now, the first question I asked them, which I'm sure is glaring for a lot of you, is just why 51 cards, right? And not the 40 that, Salad is traditionally known to play at. And his main reasoning was because of that Runic Sprite matchup, because they do try to deck you out, and he just really wanted to make sure that his Gazelle or the Field Spell had at least a lower chance of being banished. And so he also mentioned just increasing these consistency cards, right? You have the Lady Debugs and 3 Mining and then 3 Circles and whatnot, just to improve that consistency, and that it still worked out. And he did mention he, as I mentioned earlier, faced against 3 Runic Sprites, and he beat 2 of them and tied against 1 of them. So it did pay off for him. The other question I asked was really just in terms of his salad ratios, whether this was the standard. And he did say, for the most part, this is probably pretty standard. But of course, some of the 2 things that sort of stand out is the foul. Basically, this is used to just turbo out Baguska or Abyss Dweller, which of course in this format with tier elements is very, very strong, and that's the reason for this. And I do recall back in 2019 when Salad was tier 1, there were a lot of players that actually shifted towards playing Foul as well, because 2019 Abyss Dweller was also very strong. Now, the interesting one is Mirror, which is honestly a card that I haven't really seen play personally much. So basically, for those of you not familiar, just like I was, if this card is added to your hand, except by drawing it, you can reveal it and special summon it. So he was saying how, he could add it and hold the circle in hand, and it would just throw players off guard. And also, and so it just serves as an extra extender, but at the same time, you could also add it off of circle and just during like the battle phase, for example, so that you don't get killed and just protect yourself from being OTK'd. So that's one of the reasons for the Mirror. Now, as for the hand traps, I did ask him if there were any other considerations. He did mention that perhaps with the DD Crow and the 1 Ghost Spell, he could swap them out with the Bestial cards instead. For example, like 2 Magnemite and 1 Druid's Worm, I would assume. But he did mention that he really did like these choices, and it still worked out for him in the tournament. And another question I asked was really the addition of Fenrir and how well it works in this deck. And Adam really expressed that he really did like this card in the deck. So basically, if you open this, then you have something like a Abyss Dweller as well as the Counter Trap. Or if you don't open it, then you sort of prioritize getting the Baguska with the Counter Trap instead. And also the fact that this can just add itself gives you another material to just discard for Silent Mining, which is sort of nice. And he was talking about how his opponents would try to like prioritize handling the Fenrir and not the Salad part, and so it really worked out well for him. Now for the extra deck, we have the one Abyss Dweller, which is very, very strong right now, as well as the Baguska as well, with a 2000 defense against Sprite. That's pretty decent as well. And one Mirage Silhouette's back, Access Code Talker for the OTK. Borlo, we'll talk about this in a short second. We have the Heat Soul, which is nice that, Cyber gets generic support. Linger Rebo there for the trap. Just 2 Banelinks and the 3 Sunlight Wolf, as well as the Splash Mage, Transcode, and the Update Jammer for that Access Code Talker sort of combo as well, but also with Borload. Borload was something that was played in 2019 as well. I mean, we didn't have Access Code Talker back then, of course, and this was kind of nice because it would be able to steal 2 monsters in combination with Update Jammer. And I did ask him specifically why he decided to play Borload again after, because I don't think it's been played too much in the last couple of years, but he did mention just Avramax is quite hard to out in this deck and a lot of decks. Particularly, you see pretty much any Sprite list, a lot of them are going into Avramax using IP, which makes it even harder to out, and so that's the reason for this choice here. And then lastly, for the side deck, 2 Droll Lockbird, that 3rd Nibiru, the Aparo, the 2 Droplets, 1 Feather Duster, 2 Twins, 2 Anti-Spell, 2 D-Barrier, and 2 Rivalry. So a lot of 2s. The Aparo, basically, for those of you not familiar, it's there for time. You can essentially gain 2,000 life points, which is probably good enough. And he did mention that as for the side deck, if there's anything he would change, he said it was pretty tight. He would have tried to prefer some going second cards, more of those, like Dark Rule no more, but overall it seems to have worked for him. Obviously, Rivalry is pretty strong right now against the top decks. And so that was it for the super quick deck profile and just sharing Adam's thoughts on this list. I know a lot of you really like to play Salad, and it's a very, for the most part, budget-friendly option and something that people have really liked playing for a long time. And so I do apologize that I couldn't actually get Adam in person via call at least, but hopefully this was still helpful in terms of his insights and just the fact that it is still competitively viable. So that's it for me, guys. Take care.